workshop, it was never televised. So why is all of a sudden make it seem like I'm the one who was not televising the workshop?
When you wanted to, it had been.
Yes.
Session on September 6, 2022.
We'll discuss item number 24 and we'll move it for voting for next week. Councilman Al Abdulaziz, you want to say?
Thank you, Council President. If you please give me a couple minutes and to my council members, as the sponsor of this, I'll explain the rationale as to why I brought this up and I did my due diligence on this. First and foremost, before I start, I do want to preface this that when I did this, it has no reflection on the person's job or what they're doing on the job. And Commissioner Watkins, you're absolutely right. I did say you do a great job on that board. Commissioner White does a great job on that board. And Commissioner Parchment, I voted for you to get on there. And what you said today, I agree with many things you do say. When I draft legislation, and I'm speaking on behalf of 6th Ward Councilman Al Abdulaziz, when I draft legislation, I don't look at personalities, I don't look at the bodies, I don't look at the people when I draft legislation. I look at what's going to be long-term, especially with appointments, especially when it comes to appointments. I don't look at the now. I don't look at the now, I look at what's the law moving past me. I'm not going to be a council person the rest of my life. None of us are going to sit on this council for 100 years, but our laws stay on the books for 30, 40 plus years. So I'm going to explain, Commissioner White, I'm glad you came in as to why. And I mean this, there is no back. When we do our points of Board of Adjustment, I'm going to read what our municipal code states, right here, right in front of me. I went through this. So the Board of Adjustments have 9 members. Let's let that sink in. We have 9 members. To the board members, do you know who votes full-time and who's the alternates? Is there a law stating who's the voting member and who's the alternate? Is there anything in our municipal code, zoning and land development, that states who is the full-time voting member and who's the alternate? There's nothing. There is nothing. There's, oh, it goes by seniority. Oh, it goes by seniority on the board when one leaves. That's not in code. That is not in code. We could say what has happened. We have corporation counsel here that will let you know, and I'll tell, and council colleagues, I'll read page 37 right here.
You didn't say it.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. The zoning board of adjustment shall consist of 7 members appointed by the city council. Those are your voting full-time members. 2 alternate members shall be appointed by the city council. The member shall be designated by your chairman as alternate 1, alternate 2. That's in code. Now, okay, let me finish. When you have 9 members on the council, which one of these members gets a full-time voting member? By law, what I just read to you. Who are the 7 council members that get to vote a full voting member? Who are the council members here that get to vote the alternate? We don't know. There is nothing in the law, Corporation Council. I'll give you the floor. Is there anything in the law designating that we support or that each member gets a voting member or an alternate member? Mr. President, may the Corporation Council please get this?
Council President Mayor, thank you for that question, Councilman Abdulaziz. There's nothing in our code that specifically states who gets to appoint a full member versus who gets to appoint an alternate member. There is a resolution, however, that is in place, but my understanding hasn't been followed to the T.
Thank you. So, Council President, may I begin? So, there is a resolution. A resolution tells us who we appoint. So, the 1st Ward Councilman has a Board of Adjustment member, Parking Authority, Rent Leveling Task Force. 2nd Ward, Board of Adjustment, Parking Authority, Rent Leveling Task Force. 4th Ward, Board of Adjustment, Housing Authority, Rent Leveling. I get the Housing Authority. It's all written in law. So now, on this item, it doesn't tell you. So what did I do? Absolutely right. I said we need to clean this up. I'm going to quote what my councilwoman at large said. It was all jacked up. We had to figure out how to move pieces. We had to do this.
Which one?
Come on, because I never said that.
You just said all it was all jacked up.
No, I said the jackals, I was talking about Hinchcliffe Stadium. I was talking about Hinchcliffe. I did not say that.
Move it. Whatever, I'll take that back. The process right now, Councilman, the process right now is, it's not written in law as who's a full-time, who's not. Now, I'm gonna say that this was my recommendation. If we have 9 members, I stated the 6 ward council people, that's my, and that can get voted down. That's a discussion that we're having. I said the 6 ward members, it doesn't say our names. This could change and somebody could resign. I said the 6 ward members get a full voting member, and then we have to figure out the last 3 at large, how do you get those 3 appointments? And I use what they use in Congress. Every appointment in Congress is done by seniority. Every appointment in you can disagree. Council President, I gave them the floor.
Please don't talk bad.
Council President, I am giving my rationale.
I ain't talking no kid.
Council President,
Go ahead, Councilman.
I stated when I drafted this, once again, it's like you have 9 people that get appointments, we have to designate the 7 council members. I said 6 ward people, the 6 council members get a full-time person. Now you have 3 people left. You may disagree with that, but we have to designate which way. It's not written in law. I don't want to say we've always done that. Corporation Council stated, please read our municipal land law. It tells you the Board of Adjustment. So, for example, so I want to clean it up. This is a good discussion. I agree with Councilman Jackson. I agree. I want to tell you why now. It was brought to my attention. Just like we fixed this a year ago. It's been like this for how many years? For 40 years prior to us fixing this and making it equal. When something's broken, that's broken. It's broken. And let me. So we're fixing it, and I agree, Council President. Council. You see, Council President, I actually agree with Councilman Jackson. He brought something to light, and I told the Corporation Council, I think there's a misunderstanding. We can't remove them once they're sworn in. I agree. I feel that this should take effect once the terms are over to bring a pen to paper, something in writing, and how we do our appointments. So number 4, so Commissioner Trace, I agree, you should stay on until the terms are over. If you guys want to amend this and appoint our voting members by seniority across the board, do it across the board by seniority. And I want the record to reflect, a 6th ward resident, one of my constituents, would be impacted by this if it goes that way. Commissioner Barrow is a 6th ward resident. He will be removed from a voting member. So you guys didn't even read it. Excuse me? No, Commissioner Barrow is a 6th ward resident, I'm his councilman, will go from a full-time voting member to an alternate. And that's why I don't look at the names.
Councilman, one clarification. There's nobody's being removed, so.
No, not removed, Council President. They are. Council President, the ordinance, the resolution in front of us, number 4, should be scratched. This is us to have a discussion. We're not voting on this today. Once again, it really comes down to numbers. You have 9 members that we report to the Board of Adjustment. They're not all equal. 7 of them are voting members, 2 are alternate. The question is, how do these people get appointed to those specific roles? There is nothing in the law that states that. I recommend that the ward members each get a full-time, may disagree or agree, that's what I recommend. And then from the council at large, I chose seniority. If you have another idea, if there's another way to do it.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council, just to close,
Please.
I just want the record to reflect that regardless, we could pull this. I just want to make the record reflect to the commissioner that's impacted that's here, Commissioner Watkins, that I agree with Councilman Jackson, right? Councilman Jackson, that is correct, that we should not remove anyone once they're appointed to their terms. Not remove,
We are not.
replace, I'm sorry, not remove,
We're not replacing.
no. Number 4 states that they will be switched from alternate to voting. I recommend that that gets removed. And here's the thing, once the terms are over, from that large perspective, you don't know what happens in 2, 3, 4 years. It could be, Councilman Mims could be the senior member. Councilor Woody could go, we don't know what happens, that's what I'm telling you, it's not the person. So right now, I agree. Right now, I want to remove number 4. That wouldn't impact the voting members, but it will clean up our process as to what it is. I would love to meet on the side and show you everything that's in the law. I'd love to show you guys. So what's the issue?
Are you done, Councilman? Councilman?
Why we're changing the law now?
Councilman, we are not going back and forth. Are you done with this thing?
Well, my last thing.
Right.
Right now, I heard. When something's brought to my attention that's broken, I fix it.
We are fixing it.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I don't like to say, hey, why are we fixing this leak and the water never hit us on the head? We're gonna have to fix it eventually.
Thank you, Councilman.
At this point, we're.
Any other council members? Any other council member want to speak? Councilwoman Cotton?
Thank you.
Oh, they're making it so
I just want to say, I've
large
been
members can
following
only
this
vote
since
for
I got
non-voting
sitting here.
members.
And Madam Clerk, they make it seem like Madam Clerk doesn't know what she's doing because she keeps track of how the appointees come in. She keeps track. So when I was elected and I reappointed the same person the previous councilwoman had, and my appointment then had to go to an alternate, even because she was a new appointment by a new council person.
Where does it say that?
And that's what happened. So I'm not out. I didn't talk, be quiet out. And I'm saying that, no, what happened is, no, the thing is that as you come in and you wait for your turn for your person to become a permanent. So your person come in as an alternate and then as someone else comes in. Right now, you don't get appointment now until 2025. Your election is 2026. You don't get nothing on this Board of Adjustment because we can't remove people until their terms expire. Now, when I came in and I've been following it, and Madam Clerk knows I follow it, I had asked, and it all came up because a couple of years ago, Councilman McCoy and I had an excellent appointment. So the council members sitting here today realized that when Councilman McCoy and I had an extra more appointment than they did, than the other ones did. So I gave up my appointment to the Parking Authority and kept my appointment to the Board of Adjustment. Now, I've been following this in Madam Clerk, and we've been doing this all along. I don't see why a ward council person, and people say, well, Ruby, you're a ward, yes. But that means the at-large people, no. An at-large person could then be a permanent. It shouldn't be who has seniority. We're not in Congress. We don't wait nowhere near much money as Congress. We can't even use that as an example. I requested that my husband, I wanted to appoint my husband as on the board. I was told by Corporation Counsel, Ruby, you should not do that. It would be unethical. I said, well, what if someone else sitting up here do that? No, it would not be ethical for you to put your spouse on a Board of Adjustment or the planning board or any board. You shouldn't put nobody or family on the boards. That's what I was told. And I followed, and I expect legal corporation, we have to follow what you say. You weren't here when that happened, but I'm saying to you, Madam Clerk keeps track of the next. Right now, all these members on this board do not expire until 2024. We got 6 members here that do not expire until 2024. So when we're saying to Madam Clerk, have you been doing it wrong?
Right.
I don't understand. Has she been doing it wrong? Because the question came up, is when I questioned an appointment a month ago. I said, that is not a permanent, that's an alternate. If I hadn't been keeping track of this for the last 10 years, you wouldn't even know. I've just been keeping up with it to make sure, they took an appointment from me, parking authority got taken, okay, fine. I kept my Board of Adjustment because it was important. If everybody wanna know, Charlene White is my appointment for the Board of Adjustment. I put people on the board that understands what's happening. I put people on the board that knows what linear feet mean, what know what frontage mean, what know what square feet mean. I put people on the board that knows that they're supposed to go visit them site and how it's gonna impact areas. When you know you can't do certain things, that's why my appointment is there. Ain't about me I'm never gonna call no appointment and tell them to do something. They know what's right from wrong, and they know how to read blueprints, they know how to read what the architect's saying. They're relying on the planner who sits in the board with them. They're relying on a lawyer who sits with them. They're relying on those people. So for that, I'm saying, Madam Clerk, please, if you're saying that we've been doing it wrong, please say it. I'm just saying, we've been following that. And we go by Teresa's ability to vote. Plus, 2 more years from now, we got 6 appointments that's gonna be expired.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman
Thank you,
Williams?
Madam Clerk. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Council President.
Was there a question?
No, my
So we
second,
hear from the Madam Clerk, and I know it's about what process was used to give people.
Over the years, from Jane was here, I followed what Jane always communicated with the Board of Adjustment, the secretaries and the attorneys, and they gave the clerk's office the recommendations. And I followed the same pattern, well, that's what was done.
So say, I'm sorry to hear, you said Jane Williams.
Over the years, when I was here with Jane, Jane communicated with the secretary for the Board of Adjustment, with the attorney who's on that board, and she take their recommendation and work with the clerk's office, and I follow the same pattern.
Good, no, good. Did they, so the secretary of the board
The secretary
gave
and
the,
Point of order, Council President.
I have
Apparently,
Aziz,
the
you
council,
had the floor.
the council president, gave you the floor, right?
I'll let him speak.
You gave me the floor, thank you, council president. Thank you, council
apparently
president.
they have their bylaws, that they follow, and the clerk's office go along with the bylaws that the board has.
So,
That's
Council
the
President,
communication that is done.
She clarified. Thank you. So you followed the direction of board secretary and the
And the
lawyer?
attorney with their bylaws that they have, and that's how they instruct.
They don't have
Council President, just,
And we follow that
if I
guideline.
get the floor for 2 seconds, which,
1, 2,
if the
you're
board,
done.
if
You're
the,
done.
Madam Clerk,
1, 2, you're done.
Council President, you control who gets the floor, that's the way our law. Council, Madam Clerk, I appreciate you bringing clarity to that, because, and I'll piggyback to the Corporation Council, the people that appoint the members is not the board secretary, by law, and here's Corporation Council, nor the board attorney. They are giving you, I think, false appointments for all these years, and that's why we're cleaning it up. And here's Corporation Council. Let Corporation Council answer.
Councilman Woodin?
The clerk office normally communicated with that department. And their bylaws, and they gave Jane all the instructions, and I follow that same guideline.
Corporation Council should.
Corporation Council?
Thank you, Council President. Without commenting on the wisdom of the current ordinance that, or resolution that is before the council, what is absolutely clear legally is that the council is supposed to select the Board of Adjustment members. Feedback should not be solicited, or the bylaws of the Board of Adjustment should not be followed. Now, once the city council selects the Board of Adjustment members, they are their own board, they have their own autonomy, they pick their own professionals, and we've done everything we can from the law department perspective to reiterate that and support that. So I just wanted to be absolutely clear that council should be selecting the members, and then once they're selected, the Board of Adjustment is an autonomous board and takes its own actions.
Thank you.
Now we're trying to, it's not a selection process. What we're doing is not a selection process.
Councilman Woodin?
What we're doing is not a
All right.
selection process.
Thank you, Council President.
Trying to reorganize their function and
Councilman-
overriding their bylaws.
Where do you override the bylaws?
Madam Clerk clearly said that through consult
This is
of
the
the board
bylaws.
attorney, and their bylaws.
Read page 37.
Let him speak. Let you
Go ahead,
speak.
Council. Can you clarify that again?
Yes, thank you, Council President. So, again, respectfully, when the city council decides who to appoint to the Board of Adjustment, that is within the city council's purview and the city council's purview alone. The Board of Adjustment's bylaws, what their attorney has to say, what other people have to say, holds no sway over the city council, and in no way, shape, or form should decide who gets appointed to the board. So, just respectfully, Councilman Jackson, just to wrap up this point, my understanding is what's currently before the council, and what the council has to decide, not legal, not anyone else, is how is the council going to go about selecting Board of Adjustment members? Are you happy with the current system? And you need a majority of the governing body in its wisdom to decide this. If you're happy with the current system, then you're happy with the current system, no further action needs to be taken. I will respectfully suggest, though, that to the extent that the governing body, the Honorable Municipal Council, wants to make changes to the appointment procedures, that it be codified by way of ordinance, so that it's clear, it's enduring, and it cannot be changed on the whims of council going forward.
Question.
Thank you for
I have a
clarifying.
question for council, please.
When your time comes, Councilman, we didn't.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. Multiple times I attempted to speak, but I had to stop. I think we have to have our clarification that it's my time, I need to talk. That should be clarified to ourselves. I wanted to ask you a question, Corporate Counsel, that was the current practice. You already answered the question. And if I come back to the seniority, Sponsor Councilman Al-Aziz, that I would say, for example, I appointed someone today, and we all at large in the City Council for 20 years, and my appointee at the board for 20 years is still in autonomy. How does it make sense? Right. Just ask you a question and ask yourself. You don't need to answer it now. But here's the point. If we talk about the seniority and talk about the experience, that should go to the board. Who came to the board first? We have more experience. We should talk about the seniority at the board, not in the City Council right here. That's what should be. If we need to clarify anything, that should be clarified. If we are not happy with the current practice. Because I appointed someone today, and because I'm a ward council member, that's why who I appointed today, getting fully voting power, has no experience on the board. And I, as a council at large, appointed someone 20 years ago, and I'm the junior one at large, and my 20 years experience one still alternate. And does not make sense at all.
No, not at all.
And that's all I need to clarify here. So thank you.
So, Councilman Moody, what you said shows us that this item should just be removed. Because that's how it operates already. The way the Board of Adjustment operates is when someone new comes on, I want everybody to listen, they are an alternate. It is true.
That is not true.
They,
That is not true. Okay, you finish. Don't talk back.
they are placed in an alternate role and they have to wait. So I gave out copies of this resolution. I gave it out. So that you can see for yourself. So it's not me talking off my dome, as we say, on the fourth floor. Talking straight off of facts. This ordinance is saying that every ward council member can select a voting member on the board. Yep. That to me is a conflict. I'm saying that if I'm a ward council person, that I'm saying that my person I appoint gets a vote. I find that a conflict. Then it says, the most senior at large council member. There's only 3 council at large. The most senior council at large member, they get a vote, but the other 2 council members, we get nothing.
That's
Now
what-
here's a problem I have, which is another conflict. I heard a council person say, we're not pinpointing it to individuals because we may not be here forever. So here's a question of legality. So if that's the case, why do we have names
Right, exactly.
of Board of Adjustment members
Yep.
in the resolution that were not raised? That were not raised. This is an illegal document. I'm openly stating it because I asked for clarity. I was given an answer, so I want it noted. If we're doing something to amend or change a law, it should say this person should not get a vote for the other council at large. It should not identify names.
Yep,
This resolution has, and I'm reading it,
yep.
it has in here, I want you to listen. Number 4,
Yep.
well 3, the remaining at large, myself and Udine, shall select their 2 alternates in order of seniority of the at-large council member. Number 4, listen clearly. In order to effectuate the foregoing, the council hereby designates Trinace Barbie to the position of alternate 1. And then his appointment, who he didn't even appoint, he's new, but it goes up under him, Hector E. Barral as alternate number 2, and Myra Torres Arenas, conflict of a council member, and Osvaldo Vega as full voting member. This is what it says. Going forward, in regards to appointments to the board, for full members to the council of even board, the most senior shall make the selection of any resolution. This is what's before us. This is what is before us. You can't tell me there's no other explanation, there's nothing else on the books, there's none of that. This is specifically targeting individuals on the Board of Adjustment. You cannot tell me anything other. There is no one. I don't need a law degree. I'm gonna do a poll. Just raise your hand. If your name was in an item, would you feel you were targeted?
Absolutely.
This is a clear target.
Yes,
With names identified.
yes.
When names identified, you know you can't mess with me. I may not have 5 votes up here, but I got the power of the people. I'm
Absolutely.
gonna remind you, and I'm taking this and knocking on doors.
Yes, boots
That's
on
why
the
I was
ground.
top focus.
Yes,
I'm gonna take this to every person in the city. I'm
Yes.
gonna do a blast,
yes,
an email blast, a text blast,
Yes.
and I'm doing a social media blast.
yes.
So that this item will be presented to the community if it is not removed. It is illegal, there is a conflict, and for us to say, now let's go to seniority, which is the other thing I heard mentioned. Let's talk about seniority in the council. So that means I have seniority over 1, 2, 3, 4 council members. I didn't count you. I ain't count you, brother. So that means that we would have to change this because I have seniority over Udine, I have it over Mendez, I have it over the president, and even you, Councilman Al. So if we're going to change it for seniority, then I would have seniority and a vote. But I'm not even saying change it, it needs to be removed. Because it is illegal. It is a conflict. And it's sad that we, in the times we're living in, with all this stuff going on, ATVs, motorcycles, running through the city rampant, no helmets, not registered, that the item we have before us is an item to shift, because we can't remove them, but we are removing them. We're removing them from votes. Let me tell you something. Trinace, you got some power.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say, because I appointed you, I must got some power. Because it's a direct attack. It's Mem's appointee, her appointee has too much mouth over there, and we need to change her.
Not happening.
It's not gonna happen, because let me tell you something. If this item is not removed, number 1, if all 9 members vote on it, it's a conflict. If it's not removed, it's a conflict. And Jackson, I'm gonna add to your lawsuit.
Hello?
Because enough is enough. Enough is enough. And any person that is sitting at this day, everyone should see it.
Yes.
That's right.
You should see that it's a conflict. No one should have to look, you already got power. What is one more vote?
Hello?
You want the smorgasbord, you're already at the table, you're there. You're already there. But now, and look, I'm gonna add this, it's discriminatory. It's discriminatory. Because when you look at the names,
Yep.
when you look at the names, it's an African female that's being targeted. And I'm saying it, because that's what's here in writing.
Again.
It's here in writing. It's in writing.
Hello.
It's in writing. It's nothing for us to guess. It's no like, it's in writing. It is in writing. And I'm glad it's in writing.
Yes, yes.
Because it will not be that, oh man, she'll know what she's talking about, she giving mistruth. You wrote it.
There it is.
What's that song? There it is.
There it is.
It is here.
All right,
In live and in color.
let's get to the 5.
And let me tell you something. This vote is next week. I am praying with consciousness that we say, you know what, let's remove it. Even if they say remove it, let's think about it later. Because what you could have just said, when all the terms were over, we could do it then. Or let's talk about it then. But to vote in the interim of people that are on the board to say you will not vote any longer is a conflict. After they waited for the term to be an alternate. Trinace was making waves when she was an alternate, so it's really not about Trinace. But the fact that you put her name in here, I gotta state the facts. But you gotta, I'm telling you, this is a conflict all day long.
Karma is
Read
coming.
it, do whatever you want, write an article,
karma.
get some shit
It's
to
karma.
Paterson and a Snicker bar. It is a conflict. It's all over it. We never write these people. We never write these people and their names are in a resolution. That is a conflict. It's a conflict. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Shame on you should be here.
Yes.
Because it's a shame. I don't have a time limit. Shame on you should be here. They should be here because this right here is absurd.
That's right.
It is absurd. The way it's already operating, Madam Clerk has done a phenomenal job for years of letting you know when the term changes, when it's an alternate, to move them up to vote. She does a phenomenal job of letting us know. There was no need for this. I don't care what. Oh, they don't have rules. What? So why would we need to get rules? Now, let me tell you something. When those tapes get presented about those private meetings,
Hello?
that we have videotapes on,
Hello?
you can frown your face all you want, but the tapes are going to tell it all. The day is here. It's not coming. It's
Talk
here.
about
And I've had enough.
enough.
I've had enough.
Yes.
It's about doing the right thing for the people.
Yes.
They elected us, and we're sitting here on this dais,
Yes.
and we have a conflict of resolution. It shouldn't even taken this long. It's a conflict. Listing people's names in the resolution is a conflict. You can list positions, but the name should have never been in this resolution. And you can whisper to Corporation Counsel, he knows it, and if he doesn't, I talked to
Yeah, 'cause we can't do it in the
Corporation
district.
Counsel,
Criminal.
and they
Board
have
members,
said
we can't
it is a
discuss
conflict.
teachers without rights.
The name should
We'll get-
not be in.
we'll be brought up on ethics charges. We can't do
All
that.
of our 360 codes, they don't put names. They put positions. Because putting names shows a direct conflict and a discriminatory practice. It's a conflict. And I'm watching.
Criminal.
Council members, this is your resident, Councilman Mendez.
Criminal.
Tanae Barbie is your constituent.
Talk to her.
She is your constituent.
No, you don't.
She is your constituent, so I'm watching your vote, Councilman Mendez. That's your constituent. Don't let your people get targeted.
So you don't text me every day?
Criminal.
Me?
Wait,
Councilman Manley,
I just said you just now,
are
did
you
you
finished? Councilman Manley?
well, you have two residents on that board.
Councilman, are you?
So, and closing, and all of them are your residents. So I'm saying in closing, I have no issues with any council members, none. It's nothing personal for me. It's not even the fact that it's my appointee that's directed.
It's about what's right.
It's about what's doing the right thing. It's about doing the right thing. Council members, I plead with you, remove this item and let's do the business of the city, because this right here is not the business of the city.
Councilman Jackson?
I'm ready.
No. Councilman Jackson, then David, and then Perez.
Before I move forward, just for a point of clarity, Corporation Council, is voting a function of the board?
Mayor, Council President?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, it is, Council.
So if voting is a function of the board, and this council's ability is to appoint and not to get involved with the function of the board, then this council trying to make provisions on who is a voting member and who is not is a direct conflict of the autonomy of that board. We cannot interfere with the autonomy of that board. Secondly, based on the wisdom of the almighty Jane Warren, because when I spoke to Jane, when it came to certain things that was taking place on this council currently, there is a such thing as customs and practices of the council. So when you talk about reframing and yes, the council does have the ability to organize certain things that's within its purview, but certain things are customs of the council. And we cannot continue to override customs that, unless it's a direct interference in someone's their own personal agenda,
Right.
then they want to interfere with the cloak of we're just trying to do something in order to fairness. It's not fair. You already have people who have waited their time and spent time as an alternate. They become more experienced because obviously everyone who gets appointed, just like everyone who gets elected, doesn't come in knowing the role completely. So now to have a new appointee who comes in and doesn't even understand, hasn't done one class of land use law, has no experience on development projects, and they're gonna come in and automatically become a voting member. So they can get manipulated by people coming into the chambers when they're voting. And lastly, Corporation Council, members of the council, what we should be doing, what this council should be doing is making provisions to find revenue to make sure that these meetings are televised.
Thank you.
Because here you have, these large development deals.
Members. Councilman Jackson has the floor, please. Please let Councilman Jackson finish. Councilman Jackson, please continue. Councilman Jackson, continue.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, it is very troublesome because you will have an entity overpay for an acquisition by $4 million of a derelict property, overpay, where the councilman in the 6th Ward even gloated about it, talked about how these entities come into the community, overpay on a $40 million project for 171 units where they made absolutely no contribution to the community. I've sat here and done presentation after presentation, taught and showed how in Jersey City, you wonder why function. Because we sit here and we approve all kinds of projects for hundreds of millions of dollars and make sure, allow people to leave out these large-scale developers fees where they overcharge us, and we sit here and vote on it. The Hinchcliffe Stadium is a perfect issue. I've been sitting here I asked the new chair of finance, where is the finance report for all of the expenditures at the stadium? $100 million. We haven't seen any of the expenditures. Yet they're soliciting for additional $5 million. We wanna make this an issue and
I'm live
change
streaming on
board
YouTube.
members' voting ability, but we're not being financially prudent when the finance, committee is not even overseeing properly the disbursement of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So we got $100 million project at Hinchcliffe Stadium. Now it's
I
being
am live
recasted
streaming
to eliminate
on
the track.
YouTube.
So again, eliminating time for Paterson residents and Paterson youth to be able to utilize the sports. Oh, we're trying to rebuild and do things for Paterson youth. Then you have the same developer at Christopher Hope, who we just gave another $20 million to, so he can build, he can not
City
redevelop,
Hall
but just
right
go in and recast the apartments that he did 20 years ago that was poorly built for over $150,000 per unit, when the average bill cost to build is $75. Brother Parchman, you understand this fully. But yet in Fifth Avenue, he's building at $400,000 per unit. And you present these facts to the highly intelligent, and they overlook that. They overlook that. While people are continuously coming in here making a handsome dollar off the blight in our community, and they're not even providing a good product. At least if I go to Jersey City, they're gonna make sure where I have ample parking, the build quality is better. The jobs that stay within. You know, my first year, the very first year I was voted into this council, I came on to make, the first priority was the $140+ million in tax credits, which Brother Parchman, he was directly involved in. We brought in a consulting firm to talk about keeping jobs here, making sure procurement was done here. All the arguments was made. They abandoned the project and then turned it over to somebody else to walk out of here with millions of dollars. And we're talking about being responsible. This is the responsible effort. So yes, Councilwoman Mims, I did today. My attorney filed an ethics complaint. Once we totally review and what was going on here, I'm gonna move forward. I'm not, and Sister Watkins, I would advise you to do what everybody, you can donate the money back to your charity. File a lawsuit for them putting your name in that document without properly noticing you, without properly, because what that did was, that put you in the front line with the perception of you not being willing to play the game, but you could then unfairly target you and your family by people who have ulterior motives. So, Corporation Counsel, the mere fact that slipped through the cracks and we allowed someone's personal information to be published like that, that within itself, the item should just be completely removed. But it doesn't stop you from filing a lawsuit. Everybody else does. Everybody else is able to get you on the city.
Councilwoman Davila.
Okay, so actually, President, if I may, I'd like you to clarify that, because a lot is being said today. We talk about targets, right? And we talk about conflicts, all right? And it is, to everyone knows that I do have a family member that is part of that. They're not my appointment, but yes, they are. Okay, but it isn't any different than having a family member who works in different departments throughout the city. There's no, because we vote on their bills list, all of that stuff. With that said, because I don't want to make this, okay, because when we're talking about one person, you're also targeting my family member as well. So with that said, I need clarification through legal, to please tell me if something was done illegally, because if it's my understanding that when you write someone is when you're going to discuss their position and their duties and what they're doing, and that's not what we're discussing. We're discussing something here to fix, because if we go by what Madam Clerk has followed through our Honorable Madam Jane Warren, and we go by priority, because the issue isn't with my person's a senior person there, okay? Then those individuals that just came in are alternate ones and twos. So what are we talking about? If we follow what she is saying, listen to what she is saying. She follows that they go through, yes, seniority. All right? We just voted on some people, so we have to be very careful. When I was addressed, sat down with Councilman Abdulaziz, because that's what we can do. We can have conversations with our colleagues. What we can't do is have conversations with Bob, okay? And the conversation started, I went to legal. I said, legal, can this be done? He says, the only way any changes could be done, they have to go through the council. It has to be written up and done legally. So even when I saw the names, I said, okay, so the names are based on the fact that we are discussing the rearrangement, right? Based on having the 6 wards. And yes, I said, well, who gets the 7? Because I called the state. I said, can we make all 9? We should make all 9. We need all 9. And by state statute, the only way that can change is at the state level for them to change that. So then it came back, did I not, Corporation Council, have the discussion, but I need you to clarify here because a lot is being said, okay? And it's sad, you know, because they talk about it's not personal. Yes, they are making it personal. They are making it personal. To me, I looked at a document that needed some fixing, and that's what we do here on the council, okay? We change orders, and no difference. Then when Councilman Jackson came on, that he wanted to change tonnage, and he came before us, and he asked us to support. Absolutely, I'm with you. That was a book to the law for years, but we supported and enhancing it and changing it. And now we're rethinking. Okay, we talking about ATVs and bikes and all that. That's an item on the agenda that we're going to be discussing because we know how important it is. So when we talk about we're not doing the city business, yes we are, and this is part of city business because you know what? When I look at some of the things there, and when I look at a lot of people are being disenfranchised. People that came in that are senior there are at an alternate level. They're a senior person, somebody that just started last week. Somebody that's been there for years. How do you make them from being a full vote to going back? That's what we were trying to clean. So this wasn't specific. This was not about color. Look at it across the board. It's dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional. But with that said, I said it's dysfunctional. I said the way it's set up. Okay, and I'm gonna say it again. Madam Clerk, Sonia Gordon stated that she went and she followed the guidelines as past president, and that's fine, okay? But she stated that, and it's by seniority. So if we go by that now, we have a list here of seniority of people who have been on this council, because as an at-large, I am the senior person. Councilwoman, she's the dean of the council, because she was here before me, all right? But this is not about that. We were just looking to see what ways, and it's a discussion. Today's a workshop, and to be honest, I've never given anyone a document that has not been approved by the council. This is a document that all we're looking at is having a discussion because that's what workshop is, a discussion, not a vote. Next week, if it goes to a vote, then that's when the document is given. So I've never given a document. Okay, so with that said, there's an agenda there, but you don't have the entire, all resolutions are not there. You just have an agenda on what's going to be discussed. You do not have documents to show that you have the entire resolution or ordinance in place. So, Corporation Council, if you can please, and thank you very much, Council President.
Corporation Council?
I need to put that on.
So,
Go ahead.
Madam Clerk, Councilman, 1 second. Corporation Council?
yes, thank you, Council President. So, to briefly address 2 issues, one, no rights notice is needed. This is not about discipline or termination. This is discussing a position, and in fact, the sponsor of this piece of legislation, this resolution, if you will, was the only person to not discuss the performance of this individual. That other council people saw fit to discuss that and bring that in, that's within their purview. But strictly speaking, a rights notice is not needed, and to the extent my colleagues in other municipalities disagree, I'd love to have that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Mendez?
All right, thank you.
All right, Council President, just a reminder that we have an 8:30 special.
Yes, yes. Right after this, then we'll go to the,
So I'm gonna do a quick,
Special.
I'm gonna make a quick. So there's 2 issues here. One issue is, there is a resolution to put order in position, right? Wards, large, who came first, who came second, who came third, right? Second issue is names that is here. So I would recommend to the draft, the ordinance, a resolution to dissolve the 60 board that we have now. Hold on. Dissolve the 60 board. Put in place who was first, who's in second, who's in third, and then bring on board those appointees that they want to bring. We eliminate the name from it, because what I see here is that probably Councilman Adams, he's Councilman President, myself, and probably other councilmen, see it as order. We want to put order. But we don't need this piece of paper that's here to divide us more than we are. It really is, it's happening. It's happening. So, Council President, let's do a wise decision here. This is not going to be the end of the world. In this way, we need to move project forward. We need to pull forward the board. That's how we're responsible to the point. You know, let's go back to the conversation. Let's go back, sit down, and study the whole scenario again, and come back with a solution. And really, right now, we spend more than an hour and a half discussing this item, and really is sending a message out there that we're not getting along to resolve a simple thing. How we're gonna go and move forward with other items in the city of Paterson. So, I know where this is gonna go, Council President and Councilwoman Dada, and I left. I wish he understand, if he knows how to count, I know where this is going. So, my recommendation is to have a discussion, more deep in the committee. Let's do that. Let's take it out of the agenda. Let's go to committee and do it right when we come back. Thank you, Council President.
8:44.
Okay, you're saying, Council President,
One second. Yes, Councilman.
you're saying economic development, okay, it's gonna go back to committee. Councilman Jackson has an appointment that he had to fill because his person passed away. So that means you don't become an alternate, you fulfill the rest of his term. My appointment, my person moved to another state. My appointment is just, she don't become an alternate, she is fulfilling the rest of that term. Now, when those appointments come back up, one of us may have an alternate. And one of the alternate is gonna move up, because now it's a new appointment.
We could have discussed that.
But I'm just
committee.
saying, I mean, you making it seem like, you know, and Corporation Council, the question was, and you didn't answer Councilwoman Davila about her family member being on the board. She asked for an answer. I was told that my husband could not sit there. I was told that he could not be appointed by nobody else. That's a family member.
It is not her.
That's a family member.
That's not her appointment.
No, but I'm saying, but I couldn't even make, you're not even listening, because I said, what if Councilman Jackson appointed him? And they said, no, he could not do it either. Point blank, period. He could not do it. So answer, because you were not Corporation Council, but the Corporation Council now is no longer sitting there as Corporation Council. And that's what I was told. So, you know, every time you come here, we don't have 5 different Corporation Councils, and they all got 5 different answers to give you.
Corporation Council.
Should be a
Thank you, Council President, for that opportunity. And thank you, Councilwoman Khan, for that question. So, you know, unfortunately, I think, you know, both situations are right, because I'm currently looking at the definition. Just let me finish, please, and I'll tell you why it's right. So, if you look at the local government ethics law, on page 4, it has a definition of members of immediate family. And according to this document, the definition of members of immediate family, and I'm quoting, means the spouse or dependent child of a local government officer, of which council members are, or employee residing in the same household. So unfortunately, by definition, the statute says if they're residing in your home, or they're your spouse or dependent child that puts them within the ambit of member of immediate family, and then there's a bunch of prescriptions that flow from there. And my understanding is that the individual we're speaking of is neither a spouse nor a member of the household or a dependent child. Thank you for the opportunity to clarify.
Thank you, Corporation Counsel. Madam Clerk, we'll now temporarily suspend the workshop.
Council President, if I may, what is the desire of the council with number 24?
24, we'll move it forward, and we'll move it forward, and I'll talk to the council colleague, and if you need to go, take it off, I'll take it off.
Okay.
But for time being, Councilman,
Move to-
I'll move it forward.
Move to suspend the